Few world leaders have defied COVID-19 like Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro. For months, the president tempted fate and taunted doctors. He scorned calls to respect social distancing. He seemed to relish defying even his own advisors, always pressing the flesh and rarely using a face mask. Many members of his cabinet had become infected, even his wife's grandmother. Some joked he'd made a pact with the devil, until what was probably the inevitable happened.
Everybody knew that sooner or later coronavirus would reach an important part of the population. A lot of people like me, for example. If I would not have done the test, I would not know about the result that was positive. Yes, it was positive.
So far, Bolsonaro has admitted to having a fever and body aches, but continues to brush off the severity of an illness he once described as a little flu, even taking off his face mask after testing positive.
So you can see my face. Who wants to see my face? I'm fine, calm, thank God, all in peace. Thanks to those that prayed for me, were supporting me. I'm fine, thank God.
It's not just Bolsonaro's health, but his political reputation that's at stake. He's waged war against lockdowns, saying they're more harmful than the illness. He's clashed with governors who ordered businesses closed, and the Supreme Court, which recently felt compelled to order the president to wear a face mask or pay a steep fine.
Great job. Thank you very much.
Taking his cue from Donald Trump, Bolsonaro has threatened to withdraw from the WHO and has ordered that Brazil's health system distribute the anti-malaria drug hydroxychloroquine, despite warnings that it's not safe or proven to be effective for treating coronavirus. He's in fact using it now himself. The WHO nevertheless wishes him well.
We wish him a speedy and full recovery from this disease. Other leaders around the world have had similar experiences. I think it brings home for us all the reality of this virus.
That will likely depend on how President Bolsonaro fares, on whether he'll become seriously ill, as was British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, or whether he'll be back at work in a week or two, telling everyone, "I told you so." All this despite the more than 65,000 Brazilians who've lost their lives so far to the so-called little flu. Lucia, Newman, Al Jazeera.
Kai Michael Kenkel is an associate professor at the Pontifical Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro. He says Bolsonaro's illness could work in his favor.
This is not a man of deep insights. I think it's also extraordinarily convenient for him in some ways. Indeed, if it stays a light course, right, he'll be able to continue on his narrative that it's just a flu and can be cured easily. He was also scheduled to be deposed by the federal police on its allegations of sort of undue influence taking next week. So the timing is not, again, as long as it stays a light course, the timing's not altogether bad for him. If it stays within these sort of 80–85% that are light courses, it'll likely strengthen those who are doubting the severity of the outbreak, and it may actually end up lowering the adhesion to, or cutting into the adhesion to the distancing measures here, which isn't that great to begin with. We've seen this kind of catastrophic response that the country has had has to do with a total lack of leadership from the federal level, right? But Brazil had every possibility of having an absolutely model response to this pandemic. We have a very strong public health system. We have highly trained doctors. We have good ICU density. We have experience with pandemics. Treatment of HIV and AIDS here is actually quite advanced. So it's a sign of failure of leadership from the federal level that this has turned out the way that it has.